And we're live for episode 6 of Slap Happy. Slap Happy. We're here, we're doing it. It's your boy Civilian, young fresh fades, young exhibition goer, young used to be a scalper. Now I'm just a break-even artist. Which is not super fun. Trading reference, just for all my non-trading people out there. But yeah, I went to a gallery on Friday night, so it's pretty cool. I'm in Melbourne at the moment, and it's pretty cool. We can go out again, which is cool. Yeah, we went to a gallery on Friday night. Me, my brother, my girlfriend, couple of us, we went to a gallery, and it was really nice because we got to see art. And it was the cool thing about it was that it was a Sydney friend of mine who'd moved down here about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years. He has a gallery around the corner. He put on this exhibition called Nowhere, which is basically all these pieces that he had painted throughout the lockdown, which basically chronicled his mental health journey. And they were all incredible pieces, and it was a really cool show. And yeah, it was good getting out and just experiencing art and just being, just feeling a little bit of freedom again. And it was just really nice night. But today I'm coming to you with something that is, I'm talking about Australian hip hop right now. I'm talking about the moment that we're in right now. I'm talking about the future of Australian hip hop and the wealth of talent that seems to be, popping off and doing big things, both here and overseas, doing big numbers. Obviously, the conversation is going to be centered around the Kid Laroi and what he's doing and the momentum that he's creating and OneFour, etc. But I guess the conversation, I was going to come to you this week with a bit of a conversation about my trading journey, but I'll press that back one more week and I'll cover that next week. This week, I wanted to talk about this because, one, on Thursday night, I had a conversation with a guy named Jeff. We talked about hip-hop, the current state of hip-hop, and, what it looks like and how he's a fan of OneFour. And then on Friday night, after the exhibition, we came back to my place, and I started chatting to the broski, Lakeland, about, the same thing, basically from a Kid Laroi point of view, vantage point. And it was good. It was a good chat. And I've been having this chat for a minute. I've been, in and around the hip hop scene for a minute. And, I'm sure every Australian hip hop fan or Australian hip hop artist has had this conversation or something like it time and time again over the last, X amount of years. Who knows? But, I think this is probably the time to have that conversation, more so than any other time in the history of Australian hip-hop. And I say that because of what's happening right now. If you look across the landscape and you look at the talent and you look at there's always been talent Australian hip-hop artists, don't get me wrong. But there's something very, very different about what's happening right now. I don't know if I can put a actual word on it or a definition, but it's very different right now. There is a real sense of, oh shit, there's some, oh shit, oh shit, there's a bit of that going on. So the conversation me and Lakeland were having on Friday night was just around the Kid Laroi and his come up and how, things are really cool at the moment. I'll talk to this conversation from my vantage point, from being someone who's been in and around hip-hop for a little minute. And I'll only, and for everybody out there, I'm just speaking about my perspective. So, take this with a grain of salt. This is just my perspective. It's not the whole perspective. It's not all the information. This is just my perspective. Now, in 2014, 2012, 2013, 14 kind of thing, when 360 kind of came out with Falling and Flying, there was a minute where we thought that was going to be it. Where we thought, oh shit, 360 doing some cool shit. Then he got on the Utopia, Purple Rain side of things. And I will quickly give a shout out to Miracle, who had a mixtape back in the day called Sounds of the Youth, I think it was called. And that mixtape was, it was kind of off the back of 360's Utopia. And the sounds were like, it was just a real Americanized kind of like trap record, or like, hip hop trap record. And obviously 60 tried it with Utopia. It was kind of, he was just ahead of the curve, where people were still like, nah. I mean, he barely kind of, stayed afloat in the hip hop scene off of the back of Falling and Flying because of its pop aspect. But, he got commercial success, obviously. But then with Utopia, I don't know, 360, I feel sorry for 360 because he kind of, he did the pop thing. It was amazing. It was just like, in a hip hop sense, it was just too smart. And then when he tried to do the hip hop thing for the hip hop heads in terms of Utopia, he was just still a little bit too ahead of the curve when it came to Purple Rain and Larry. I don't know. There's a couple really fat joints on that, but the whole thing was just like real. It had that American flavor. The reason I make the distinction between American flavor and another is because, and this goes back to the conversation I was having on the Thursday night with this guy named Jeff, and he brought up this concept of there being two different ideas at play. One of them is Australian hip hop, okay, and the other is Australians that rap, and they're very different things. They can be the same thing, but mostly they're different things. And the way they differ is Australian hip hop, he said, which I agree with, is like a subgenre of hip hop, and that it's been demonized over time, as we've moved forward. But there's always been that kind of clash of ideologies between barbecue rap and American rap kind of thing. Bogan rap versus gangster rap kind of thing, and how they haven't really seen eye to eye because the Australians are like, oh, you got to sound Australian, and the people with kind of like an international leaning kind of sound are like, oh, well, fuck you. Like, I can do what I want. I want to, and there's always been a bit of a clash there, but I digress. So, we made that distinction, but that there is a subgenre of Australian hip hop, which, you could say is more, Hilltop Hoods, Bliss and Esso, Phrase, Pez, I guess, all the everyone on Golden Era Records for the most part, maybe Horror Show and some of those other guys, but kind of they're their own genre, I guess, subgenre. But you know what I'm saying, like that more classic sounding Australian, if for lack of a better term, bogan hip hop, right? So that's the Australian hip hop subgenre, and then you have Australians that rap. Now, Australians that rap, even though like you can say it's you can argue that it's Australian hip hop, I kind of see it as a slightly different thing in terms of they're not trying to be, and they haven't tried to be, and you can see this with the drill sound. You can see this with the more wavy kind of like trap sound that was a couple years ago. You can see this with some of the stuff that Hooligan Hefs is doing at the moment. And Tkay and Sampa and all these guys, you can see this in a way that they're creating their sound and they're doing a sound that is it has an international appeal. They're not worried about this thing, right? So especially with the drill sound, they didn't grow up and go, oh, I want to do boom bap. They went, nah, let's do this thing because it connects with us and where we're going. And it is what it is. So, we're having that conversation, making that distinction, and I think I don't know if it's that relevant of a distinction to make, but it is there, right? So, going back to 360, when he first, came out in 2013, 2014, with the Utopia, I loved it, but it was still too far ahead of the curve in terms of Australia wasn't ready for that. Australians that rap were not prominent enough yet. It was still Australian hip-hop, the subgenre. Now, same thing with Miracle and Sounds of the Youth, that mixtape. Incredible mixtape, just too ahead of the time. Maybe 6 months later, that thing Because I think this was 2017, 2018 when he dropped that mixtape. So it's a few years after Utopia, but still, probably still too far ahead of the curve. Now, fucking both great records. Like that Sounds of the Youth mixtape from Miracle. It was just absolute flames. The whole thing had so many great features on there. I'm pretty sure pretty sure Manu, Anther probably had great production, great features, great sound sonically. Just like it was just a really tight mixtape. But yeah, as I said, too far ahead of the curve. So anyway, you push forward a few years and the sound starts to change. The skin color starts to change. We start, a lot of Islander boys are now starting to see prominence. A lot of the indigenous boys are starting to see prominence. A lot more female rappers are being pushed to the front. The face of Australian hip hop is kind of changing to the face of Australians that rap, and I mean, it's got us to the point now where that sound that isn't necessarily trying to be Australian hip hop, but is just trying to be, whether it's international leaning or not, it's just trying to be. That sound is now what is going to take us into the future, which is why I bring this whole thing up, because there's obviously a movement and a moment that's happening right now with the Kid Laroi, 17 years old, 3 years ago, was in Sydney just kicking it, doing his little thing. 3 years later, he's got 16 million monthly listeners on Spotify. He's just put out an album and then a mixtape with, songs with Juice WRLD. He was on a song with Halsey, Marshmello, Machine Gun Kelly. Fucking Machine Gun Kelly, just in case anybody forgot, Machine Gun Kelly dropped probably one of the best diss records of the last, I don't know, fucking 20 years, only 2 years ago, against the best rapper of all time, who responded. Killed him, but responded. So Machine Gun Kelly disses the best rapper of all time, from my point of view, who responds, and then 2 years later jumps on a record with a little 17-year-old Sydney kid. Like, what the fuck? Like, that shit is wild, man. And I don't know. It's super cool. It's super cool. It's super cool that we're here right now. It's super cool that this is happening. I saw Earthboy the other day put out a tweet, and it was this beautiful tweet where he was talking about, the strength of the sound and the the movement that's happening under his feet. And he talked about, how the fact that he's been in hip hop for 20 years in this country, and he's starting to see the the links between Diafrix and Manu. And then Death Wish Cast and Cursor. I don't know. He made a couple other references, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was just a really cool tweet from a guy who's like, obviously one of the OGs, but still very relevant, but just made a really nice, reference to this moment in time. And it was just really cool. It was just really cool to see. And it really did dial in these thoughts that I've been having about where we are. Because this is something that I'm constantly thinking about, like who's going to be that Australian artist to like break us and really, take us to that next level. Who's going to be that Australian superstar hip hop artist? It's something that super excites me, being Australian and loving hip hop. Having an international act is like a superstar, an international superstar is something that I'm super excited about, and I can't, fuck it, I'm excited about it. Whatever. Anyway, I'm going to check the time as I usually do, because I don't want to talk for 40 minutes about, which is a cool topic, but I don't want to talk for 40 minutes about it. Anyway, let me have a look at this time. Okay, dope. Only 15 minutes. That's cool. I'm happy with this so far. So anyway, Kid Laroi. So many good songs on, both of these records. So Done, Wrong, Tell Me Why. I think, what's the one with Corbin? It's Not Fair, I think. And, I fuck with that one real hard. I just think that, that opening line there where it goes from, trying to sell me on a fucking 60. I don't know, I'm trying to be Corbin, and then it, jump into hell in a drop top, da 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 da. Anyway, I can't do the Leroy, but that whole opening sequence there, the songwriting is just off the chain. The Leroy songwriting is off the chain, and you know, we were having this conversation on Saturday night, and from my point of view, right, I thought Manu was going to be it a couple years ago when, you know, Fuego, and just before that, like Every Day, and you know, he put their little EP out, and he was touring, he was playing all these festivals, he was doing stuff overseas, different leagues, shit like that. I thought Manu was going to be our thing. I thought Manu was like, you know, I just thought he had a sound, he had the image, he had the tone, he had the look, you know, everything seemed to be lining up. And then, you know, and I'm going to say this because I think it's relevant for the context of what I'm about to say. And this is no disrespect to Manu, because I absolutely love the shit out of him, and I've been fanboying for a minute now. So I'm okay with, you know, just being vulnerable in this moment. But when I realized that St. John existed, it was a bit harder for me to say with complete sincerity that I think Manu can be our Australian international superstar, if that makes sense. I thought he could be until I knew St. John existed. And then I was like, there's too many similarities. You know, it's like there's only one Eminem. You know, there's only one Drake. There's only one Kendrick. There's only, you know, sure, there's other guys who try to be like that, have a similar sound, do a similar thing, but you need to beat them at their game to have that spot. And I didn't think Manu was beating or could beat St. John to have that spot, you know? Surely because of, you know, St. John being an American artist, just having a bit more access, having, you know, just, you know, bigger fan base and stuff like that, but also just the quality of the sound. I just didn't think he could do that. That's, as I said, no disrespect to Manu. I fucking love Manu, but when I heard that, I just didn't think that he could be our Australian international superstar, right? Now, people could make the same argument with Leroy and having a similar sound to, like, you know, the Moseys and the Bibbies and the, I don't know, like I can't think of any off the top of my head, but a lot of those guys, right? That very melodic auto-tune trap style, right? You know, I kind of agree, but at the same time, I just think there is a way more interesting story with Leroy, being his age and, you know, where he's come from, the fact that he got taken over there, understudied at Juice World, you know, the story and the you know, the image, and not so much an image, but just the story is just so compelling. It's really hard to turn away from the story. But also, when you see Leroy, you know, and the thing that kind of sold it for me was he did this like live performance of Tell Me Why, where he sits down on a couch and just, you know, screams his heart out, like just performing this song. When I saw him perform that, I just thought, man, there's so much conviction. There is so much, like, I got sold on the pain and where it's coming from, and just like, man, this motherfucker, like, you know, he's young, but he's got some shit to say, and I felt it, and I believed it. And, you know, those two things combined, his conviction and the rawness and the vulnerability and the story. Those two things, I think, are going to see him become Australia's first, like, proper international hip-hop superstar. There, I said it. I mean, he already is, but I said it. You know, obviously there's a ton more that are pushing our sound overseas and pushing our country overseas, should I say. Pushing where they came from, or not where they came from, because they've come from all over the world, moved here when they were younger, shit like that. But I'm saying pushing Australian hip hop overseas. There is a plethora of artists that are representing, you know, Australia. OneFour doing humongous things. Then their new EP, loved it. You know, doing some really cool things, singing. They got the, you know, little melodic vibes and just bars. Like the storytelling is authentic and just passionate and you can feel it. So yeah, I would say OneFour. You got HP Boyz. You got Tkay Maidza, who just put out an EP. Last year was Weird Volume 2, which has like probably one of the best album covers ever. It's fucking amazing. Also putting out like hectic visuals, getting like a lot of international recognition. Sampa the Great, same deal. Chilling it, you know, doing absolutely crazy shit. Young and Lips. Those guys are really, all those guys are really, really, really like doing big shit internationally and really pushing Australia. And it's really, really exciting. And then I'm just going to check this time real quick. And then more locally, you got a dead set plethora of really talented, you know, guys coming through as well, which I could like literally I would be like, I would go to open the list and it would just like big toilet roll just on the ground, around the corner, down the stairs, down the street, pick up some milk from the corner shop, you know, keep the change, come back, roll back up. And then that's how big it is. Big list. You know, Lil Spacely, consistent as hell. I fuck with Lil Spacely. Lanston just dropped some shit with Talakai Glow, which is amazing. You know, my boy Airports, he's dropping on the reg at the moment. My little brother Ruku just put out a song with Blitz called Hakuna, which is such a spicy jam. I implore you to go have a look at that one. Absolutely love it. I love his songwriting at the moment. A little biased, but you know, that's what I do. But you know, objectively as well, he's doing really cool shit. So it's whatever. You got Kobe D. Nookie just dropped another one the other day. Kobe Spice was really consistent with her output for the majority of this year, last year kind of thing. Who else you got? You got Nerve. I already mentioned Talakai. You got Lissy. You got who else? You got Triple One. JK47, who just won Unearthed Album of the Year. There's a lot of really, 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 really talented artists in the Australian music landscape making hip-hop or hip-hop inspired music at the moment. A lot of them. A lot of really, really talented cats. And it's super, super, super cool to see and to kind of be a part of and to just witness, you know. If I get to be here for this moment, I'm happy. You know, I'm really happy. St. Lane, I want to give a quick moment here for St. Lane. Lane, who's my homie from the Gold Coast. He just put out his EP, If I Leave You in the Fire, on Friday. And I just want to say quick shout out to Lane. You've had a hectic couple of years, my G. And I just want to say to you right now that EP was, you know, really, really inspirational piece. And, you know, to hear your story on those records and to hear what you've been through on those records, and to hear the different intricacies and the songwriting and just the complexity of the whole thing was, you know, really cool. Really, really cool. It was cool to see it, and to hear it and to feel it. So I want to give you a big shout out right now, dude. And, yeah, keep pushing. So St. Lane's EP, he put that out on Friday. Please go check that out as well. And then next Friday, my brother, Big K, Big Lil K, Big Big Skrrtus, Current is dropping his new EP, Formula 5, next Friday, which will be a couple days after I put this podcast out. But that is I've heard that thing from start to finish. It's a masterpiece. Really, 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 really special piece of music. So be on the lookout for that. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I want to know what you guys think. Like, are we in that moment? Do you feel like we're in that moment? Do you feel like we're in that, like, you know, that moment where we're about to see our first, like, proper big international Australian hip-hop superstar? I feel like it's Kid Laroi. You know, it might be OneFour, might be Young and Lips, might be someone else. Who do you think? I want to know. Comment below. I would love to have a conversation with people. Yeah. Talked a little bit of shit. gave you my perspective. Again, take this with a grain of salt. This is just my perspective. You know, it's not the most research. I got my little notes on this computer here, but you know, I'm not spending hours and hours detailing this. This is just what I've seen, what I've felt, what I've heard. And it's now what I think. I think Leroy is going to be it. I think there's a lot of other people who are going to push it as well. And that's the Australian, you know, hip hop brand. And yeah, I would love to get a little conversation going down here. Who do you think is going to be? Who do you want it to be? Who else do you like? Everybody that I've mentioned, for the most, a lot of people that I've mentioned in this episode, I'm going to include in my Savvy Selection playlist on Spotify, which I'll link below as well. And yeah, go listen to them. Stream Australian music, stream good Australian music, and let's all push this together. It's exciting. We're in the middle of a moment. And it's exciting to be a part of. So before I go, really quick shout out to my brother T-Rex on the Sunny Coast there, son. Thank you for repping that. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate everybody watching these episodes. And, you know, give me feedback. Let me know what they think. I'm going to drop my trading journey next week. And then the following week, I'm going to have a guest on, and my first ever guest. So things are getting really exciting. I got 50 downloads the other day. Loving it. Absolutely loving it. What can I say? Loving it. 17,000 episodes. How do we get here? Anyway, that's what I thought. That's what I think. Slap happy. Everybody stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the winner's circle.